This is Julia Ramos, a first-year medical student at the Johns Hopkins Medical School, and this is her pathway to medicine.
So I think growing up, first and foremost, my mother was a nurse, and she was a single mother, so oftentimes I would kind of go with her to her home visits and things. So that was kind of my very first exposure to medicine. But I think what really kind of solidified my interest in medicine was being abroad, and in Ecuador was actually my first time, and that was seeing kind of health disparity for the first time for me. I hadn't really had that much clinical experience or shadowing in the US, and I was in a maternity ward, and basically they had like 25 women all laboring in one room. They didn't have sheets. They were using like diaper bags as pillows. And they weren't allowed to have family there. A lot of them were in a lot of pain. And on top of that, they had that full house of 25 women in the one room, but then there were tons of women waiting to be seen to be admitted, who were 4 centimeters dilated. They just didn't have the capacity to include them. So that day was tremendously hard for me, and I kind of left in tears and upset. But then moving forward from that, after seeing that health disparity, I had an experience in Kenya where I was doing kind of the developmental side of dealing with health disparity, so working with HIV positive women and getting them, kind of connecting them with the care that they needed or resources for their children or themselves. And I saw that was much more difficult to kind of feel good about the work that you were doing because there were so many factors that you were battling, whereas if we just paid attention to their health and gave them proper medical care, at least you would see some sort of positive effect from your work. And so I think that's kind of the number one thing that I'm looking forward to in learning medicine, is kind of gaining those tangible skills that will allow me to kind of see the work that I do. But that's just one part, I guess. But yeah. It was so overwhelming. I'll just start with that. Yeah. I felt like it never ended. So get ready. I think that it was actually a bit harder for me because I didn't kind of seek out help from other people who had gone through the process before, and I wasn't really tapping into any pre-med resources at UNC. We don't have a board or anything that leads you through, they don't create there are some packets that you get full of your recommendations from your school. We don't have a pre-med board, so it's very different. You're kind of just on your own and floating, and I was bad at not reaching out. But I think I had built kind of a really strong support network within my friends, so they were able to kind of edit my essays and things like that. I think a lot of work went into just putting everything together, but I think maybe the most important factor, the reason why it was successful, was because throughout my time, throughout undergrad, I truly did everything that I wanted to do. I didn't force myself to kind of make myself into this certain package that would be, something that a medical school would truly want. I didn't do any wet lab research because that was not something that I was interested in doing, despite the fact that you have so many voices in your head in your ear, physically, real people, not just inside, telling you that you should pursue that kind of research, So I think that was the most important factor for me going into medicine, and also maybe for the medical schools looking at me as an applicant. My favorite part of medical school, pass-fail. That is my favorite part. Truly though, I don't know, probably all of us here are a bit type A, so we're given material and we truly want to, perfect our knowledge or our understanding of that material. But with pass-fail, the pressure is kind of a bit off, so I can kind of push myself as far as I want to, and then I can focus on other things, and that has been so important so far for my quality of life here, because if I were in a school that didn't have pass-fail and I had to focus on my grades 24/7, I truly would do that, and I would leave an unhealthy life and probably want to take another gap year and maybe never come back. So it's really, I think for me, you know, like I said, science is fascinating, but like systems of oppression, systems of inequality, that is my passion. And you can't really get that in immunology, for example, you know? So there are other things that I have to do in order to kind of feed that passion. And PassFail allows me to do that. There's been a lot of information. Well, no, it's been actually a really positive experience. I think if I could say one thing that has been hard is being away from my support network, being away from my family. The people here are wonderful, but they're very, very different from, you know, the people that have known me all my life. So I've tried really hard to kind of fit in times during the weekend to go back to North Carolina and see my family. Also, my boyfriend right now is in China, and we've been together almost 4 years. So, you know, not having him around has been a challenge as well. And I think kind of connected to that, the students here are phenomenal, and I love them all. Like, I can't really say many negative things about the students here because they are really passionate, they are really driven, but I think that in some ways inhibits us from becoming really, really close friends, because oftentimes we are quite focused on our schoolwork. So it's been hard to kind of find those friends that I don't have anymore again here. So I don't really know where I would go for residency. Could be North Carolina, may not be. Primary care is really important to me in that the longitudinal relationships that you can create with your patients is wonderful. Like, I'm really excited to have a patient that is comfortable with me and comes back to me often, and I know a lot about a broad variety of aspects of their life. I'm really interested in that. I'm interested in, you know, kind of the whole person rather than just one particular element. I think also primary care is something that's needed as kind of preventative medicine for individuals or for communities that are more vulnerable. And so I think going in this route enables me to kind of enact more change, be kind of a leader in creating community programs in the future. And also, I really want to deliver babies. Like, that's something that like is of interest to me. But OB-GYN in some places can be like very surgically involved and related, and I'm less interested in surgery and more kind of in vaginal delivery. So family medicine, for example, would enable me to practice that. Everything you do in life, make sure it's coming from a place of like true interest and true curiosity. Don't think about what might look good or whatever is on your resume or will this help you get into medical school, because that's not really important. I think you all are probably phenomenal individuals. Just the fact that you're being able to kind of, you're already participating in Teriguchi's class. Like, there are many aspects, I'm sure, to you guys that are already incredible. So continue kind of feeding your own passion and make sure that you're interested in what you do, because in the end, you don't want to craft a persona or an individual that you don't want to be in the future, because you're kind of forcing yourself in that direction. I'm sure, like, you probably know this, you may not be, like, you know, you may not need to hear it, but it's also good to hear it sometimes. So I just, you know, don't crash under the pressures of that be regarding medical admissions, and kind of maintain your identity and what you're passionate about.
Okay, and very, very lastly, is there anything else?
No.